A long-haul flight in economy is one of those experiences that sounds manageable in theory and slowly stops being manageable somewhere over the Atlantic. You're tired, but can't sleep. You're hungry, but the meal just happened. Your neck hurts, your ankles are doing something you'd rather not look at, and the person in front has reclined their seat approximately into your lap. This video is not about making economy comfortable. Economy is not comfortable. This is about making it survivable and arriving at your destination functional enough to actually enjoy where you're going. 6 categories. The tips that experienced long-haul travelers actually use, starting now. Subscribe if you want more of this. Long-haul strategies, booking tricks, gear that's actually worth it. Now, Category 1. What you wear matters more than you think. Cabins go from sauna to freezer within 2 hours. Dress for both. The temperature on a long-haul flight is not stable. During boarding, it's warm, sometimes uncomfortably so. Once you hit cruising altitude, the air conditioning kicks in and it stays cold for most of the flight. Then, the cabin warms up again before landing. Dressing in layers is the only way to handle this without spending 8 hours either sweating or huddled under a thin airline blanket that covers approximately 60% of a human body. The specific layer that experienced travelers swear by is a zip-up, not a pullover. A hoodie you have to wrestle over your head in a middle seat at 3 a.m. is a different category of miserable. A zip-up you can open and close with one hand is not. Avoid tight jeans or anything with a waistband that becomes a problem after a meal. Joggers, travel pants with stretch, or loose-fit trousers, your future self will thank you. Compression socks are not glamorous, but they prevent the swollen ankle situation that makes the last 2 hours of a long flight feel like the worst 2 hours of a long flight. Put them on before you board, and wear shoes you can slip on and off easily. You'll want to take them off, and your neighbors will want you to keep your socks on. Both things are possible. Food and water. The cabin dehydrates you faster than you think, and the meal timing's not on your side. Cabin air at cruising altitude has humidity levels of around 15 to 20%. For reference, a comfortable indoor environment runs between 30 and 50%. You're slowly drying out from the moment you board. The small cups of water the crew offers are not enough. Bring an empty water bottle through security, any size, any brand, and fill it at a fountain or cafe at the gate. A 750 milliliter bottle, refilled twice during a 12-hour flight, is the minimum. More if you drink coffee or alcohol on board, both of which dehydrate you further. On food, do not experiment with unfamiliar meals the night before a long haul. Your stomach in a pressurized cabin at altitude does not want surprises. Bring your own snacks as backup, not to avoid the airline meal, but for the 4-hour gap between service windows when you're genuinely hungry and the crew's not coming. Nuts, energy bars, dried fruit, ginger sweets, or ginger ale if your stomach tends toward unsettled on flights. The airline meal will arrive, it'll be fine or it'll be bad. Your snacks are the insurance policy either way. Sleep strategy. You will not sleep like you do at home. You can sleep better than most people on your flight. The single most useful thing you can do before a long-haul flight is set your phone to the time zone of your destination the moment you board. Not when you land, when you board. This resets your reference point and makes it easier to decide when to sleep based on where you're going rather than where you came from. If it's 2 a.m. at your destination, sleep. If it's noon, stay awake. Sounds simple. Most people don't do it. On gear, a sleep mask that actually blocks light is worth the $15. The thin ones that let cabin light through the edges do almost nothing. Noise-cancelling headphones or well-fitted earplugs are the other half of the equation. Economy cabin ambient noise sits around 85 decibels, which is the same range as heavy traffic. You cannot sleep well through that without help. Seat choice matters. Window seat lets you lean against the wall and controls when you get up. Aisle seat lets you get up without disturbing anyone, but means you get disturbed when your neighbor needs out. Middle seat has no redeeming qualities. Book window if sleep is the priority. One logistics tip that most people discover the hard way: buckle your seatbelt over your blanket or jacket so it's visible. Flight crew check seatbelts during the flight. Being woken up to confirm your belt exists is a special kind of frustrating that is entirely avoidable. The mid-flight reset. 10 hours in, you will want to feel human again. This takes about 4 minutes. Somewhere around the halfway point of a long flight, there's a moment where the recycled air, the lack of sleep, and the general situation of being in a metal tube starts to accumulate. The reset's not about a full spa routine in a lavatory the size of a phone booth. It's about 3 things. First, unscented wet wipes for your hands and your tray table. Aircraft tray tables test positive for more bacteria per square inch than most surfaces in an airport terminal. Wipe it before the meal. Wipe your hands after touching anything shared. Unscented because you're in an enclosed space with other people, and strong fragrances in confined cabins are universally unpleasant. Second, something for your mouth. A travel toothbrush and a small tube of toothpaste, or at minimum a pack of mints. Brushing your teeth at hour 7 of a 12-hour flight is one of those small things that makes an unreasonable difference to how you feel. Third, if you have a long haul that goes into a full day of activity on arrival, a clean shirt in your personal item bag lets you change before landing and arrive without wearing a shirt that's been on your body for 14 hours. This is optional. It's also the kind of thing that experienced long-haul travelers do quietly and that everyone else notices. Movement and circulation. You don't need to do yoga in the aisle. After about 6 hours in economy, almost everyone feels the same thing. Your legs stop cooperating. This is not dramatic, it's just what happens when circulation slows down in a pressurized cabin with limited movement. Deep vein thrombosis risk increases on flights over 4 hours when you stay seated and still, which is why compression socks exist and why doctors recommend movement on long haul. The practical version does not require walking laps of the cabin. Ankle circles, calf raises, and pressing your feet into the floor every 30 to 45 minutes keeps circulation moving without involving anyone else in your exercise routine. Standing up once every couple of hours, timed to when the aisle is clear and the crew is not serving, is enough. The best time for a bathroom visit is immediately after the meal service ends, before the rest of the cabin has the same idea. The queue for the economy lavatories post-meal is a specific kind of slow-moving social experience you can avoid entirely by going first. One organizational tip that saves a disproportionate amount of frustration: put everything you'll need during the flight – headphones, lip balm, medication, phone charger, snacks – into one small pouch that lives in the bag under the seat in front of you. Not in the overhead bin. The number of times you'll need something from that overhead bin at an inconvenient moment, requiring you to climb over a sleeping neighbor, is directly proportional to how unprepared your underseat bag is. Tech, power, and arrival. The flight ends. What happens in the next 30 minutes matters as much as the 10 hours before it. Do not rely on the seatback entertainment system as your only option. On a good day, it works fine. On a bad day, the screen in your seat is broken, frozen, or has a catalog that was last updated in 2019. Download films, series, and podcasts offline before you leave. Netflix, Spotify, YouTube Premium, all of them have offline modes that most people don't use until they're already on the plane with no Wi-Fi and realize they forgot. Power is the other half of this. The USB port in the seat charges your phone slowly. A compact wall adapter plugged into the seat power socket charges it at normal speed. A small power bank in your personal item covers you on aircraft that do not have seat power at all, which still exists more often than it should. And then, arrival. You've just spent 10 hours or more in a pressurized cabin. You land in a country where your phone plan doesn't work and you need a car, directions, or a way to tell someone you landed. Roaming charges on international arrivals can run $10 to $15 per day before you've even left the terminal. Set up a Saily eSIM before you fly. It activates the moment you land, gives you data in over 150 countries, and costs a fraction of what your carrier charges for international roaming. You book it the same way you book the flight. Link is in the description. 6 categories. The summary is shorter than the video. Dress in layers with a zip-up. Bring water and snacks. Set your phone to destination time when you board. Wipe the tray table. Move your ankles. Put everything you need in one pouch under the seat. Download your entertainment before you leave the house. And sort out your data before you land. None of this makes economy comfortable. Economy is not comfortable. But there is a version of a long-haul flight where you arrive tired and ready, and a version where you arrive destroyed. The difference between them is mostly preparation, and most of it takes less than 20 minutes the night before. If you found this useful, hit like, subscribe for more, and use Kiwi to book the flights you'll now survive significantly better. Link in the description. See ya in the next one.